Maya's palm tightened around the microphone as she stepped into the glare of the stage lights, her pulse thundering through the crowd's hushed anticipation. The grand hall's cold metal beams loomed overhead, and rows of investors and journalists sat perched like judges, awaiting her verdict. She drew in a steadying breath, feeling the prototype's weight against her wrist, every ridge and seam a testament to nights spent hunched over soldering irons and code. "You see a waitress, daughter," she said, voice steady but trembling. "But you've never seen what resolve can build." Her words rippled through the silence, each syllable crackling with raw defiance. Behind her, a massive LED screen sprang to life, sensing with her heartbeat to display real-time muscle tension maps pulsing in electric blue. The CEO at center stage shifted, his tailored suit suddenly too stiff, his practiced smile faltering. Maya's dark hair swung as she turned, eyes blazing, her prototype glowing with data trails she'd invented from scratch. "This isn't charity," she declared. "It's revolution." The murmurs began low and uncertain, then swelled into a tide of excitement as her triumph, years in waiting, erupted in one triumphant roar. As the lights dimmed to a soft blue, Maya slipped off stage and into the narrow corridor behind the auditorium, her legs trembling from adrenaline and exhaustion. Each step echoed against the steel walls, reminders of every late-night prototype tweak and every dismissive glance she endured at the diner. The corridor's fluorescent tubes hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows that mocked her triumph. She paused by a service door marked, "Staff Only," pressing a palm to the cool metal and closing her eyes against the memory of her mother's tired smile as she took trays of coffee orders. A single tear traced a line through her makeup. Beside her, her chief engineer, Amir, approached quietly, eyes alight with wonder and concern. "You were incredible," he whispered, voice tight with disbelief. Maya forced a nod, swallowing hard as she wiped her cheek. Despite the roar of applause still thundering in her mind, a quiet ache settled in her chest, a whisper that her battle had only just begun. In the adjacent break room, sterile and fluorescent, Maya sank onto a vinyl bench beside Amir, the prototype resting on the table between them like a silent judge. The hum of the projector screen showing her live demo still glowed faintly on a blank wall. She curled her fingers around a chipped mug of lukewarm coffee, tasting bitterness that no sugar could mask. "They'll want revisions," she muttered, voice low. Amir leaned forward, excitement and fatigue warring in his gaze. "They'll fight you, big budgets, big egos, but they can't argue with your data." He tapped the sleek band, lighting up hidden sensors. Maya nodded slowly, resolve replacing doubt. The prototype's soft blue glow filled the cramped room as she sketched new schematics on a napkin, her mind racing with possibilities beyond tonight's victory and into the next battle. Hours later, the lobby lay deserted, except for cleaning staff and a lone security guard. Maya and Amir stood beneath a grand chandelier, its crystals dimmed by grime. Their reflection shimmered in the marble floor as they reviewed data on Amir's tablet, graphs flattening and spiking in real time. "They'll ask for clinical trials next," Amir said, brow furrowed. Maya tapped the screen, eyes bright. "Then we'll design them ourselves. No university bureaucracy. We'll prove it works first, then find the money." Her tone carried defiance like steel. The prototype's gentle blue halo cast their shadows long across the lobby, two figures poised at the edge of a revolution that would demand more than they ever imagined. At sunrise, Maya exited into a quiet courtyard where dew clung to concrete planters. She cradled the prototype in both hands, eyes scanning the horizon as if searching for the next hurdle. The city stirred beyond the courtyard walls, faint horns, distant footsteps, the promise of a world waking. She inhaled cool morning air, steeling herself against the doubt and privilege that stood between her and real change. Her phone buzzed with a message from her mother, so proud. Maya allowed herself a small, genuine smile before striding toward the street, prototype band gleaming against her wrist. With each determined step, she carried not just her invention, but the weight of every overlooked dreamer she vowed to prove possible. Maya navigated the cavernous lab at dawn, the gleam of stainless steel benches and humming machines casting cold reflections across her face. The prototype sat at her workstation, its soft blue glow subdued under fluorescent tubes. She pulled on latex gloves, heart hammering as she calibrated the sensor array one more time. "Tonight, we test longevity," she muttered, voice steady despite the sleepless nights etched beneath her eyes. Across the bench, Amir adjusted a high-speed camera, lenses trained on the Wearables micromotors. "Data feed is live," he announced, fingers dancing over the touchscreen. Maya placed the band on her wrist, feeling the cool metal against her skin like a silent vow. She flexed her hand, watching live graphs twist and spike across monitors. Muscle fiber conductivity, sweat electrolyte levels, microtremor analysis. Her chest tightened as the numbers held steady beyond her wildest projections. Amir exhaled in relief. Maya's lips curved into a feral grin. "We did it," she whispered, voice echoing through the lab's sterile air, every hum and click validating years of obsession and sacrifice. By mid-morning, Maya and Amir convened around a solar-lit whiteboard cluttered with data points and scrawled hypotheses. Outside, rain drummed against the rooftop windows, blurring the city into watercolor streaks. Maya traced a winding line of percentages with a marker, each spike a testament to her prototype's evolving accuracy. "We pushed battery cycles past 24 hours, she explained, voice carrying through the hush of concentration. Amir tapped the board, eyes bright. "But heat dispersion needs improvement. Temperatures spiked at constant load." Maya nodded, biting her lip as she circled a cluster of red numbers. "We'll integrate microvent channels into the band's inner frame," she decided, tone resolute. The rain's steady rhythm underscored their silent determination, each drop a silent drum, motivating their next breakthrough. As afternoon shadows lengthened, Maya slipped into a glass-walled testing chamber with the prototyped band snug on her forearm. Hidden sensors and motion capture rigs orbited her like silent sentinels. She ran through a series of flexes and grips, each movement tracked by dozens of cameras. Numbers scrolled across monitors, torque output, micro-vibration frequency, skin temperature maps. The room smelled faintly of plastic and ozone. Maya's reflection stared back from the glass, determined, exhausted, unbreakable. Outside, Amir monitored data feeds, lips parted in concentration. "Torque threshold passed," he relayed. Maya slowed, breathing steady, letting triumph settle in her bones. She tapped the glass, a soft echo in the chamber's hush, then turned to face the world she was reshaping. Late afternoon found Maya reviewing EA gained motion data in a dimmed control room. Panels of screens cast teal glows onto her angular features as she scrolled through heat maps and spectral analyses. Amir reclined in a chair beside her, exhaustion heavy in his posture. "Your neural sync algorithm showed 98% accuracy," he said quietly. Maya tapped a key, bringing up a waveform that looked like a heartbeat traced by lightning. "It's reliable," she affirmed, voice soft with awe. Outside the tinted glass, rain had ceased, leaving the streets slick and reflective. Maya traced the waveform with her finger, her mind racing ahead to clinical trials, manufacturing partners, regulatory hurdles. Each data point glittered like a star in a new constellation she was charting. As evening settled, Maya and Amir stepped onto the rooftop terrace of the lab, city lights budding like embers below. The prototype band still glowed softly on Maya's wrist, its data feed pulsing with quiet certainty. Cool wind tugged at her hair as she gazed at neon signs blinking in the distance. "We've proven the theory," she said, voice barely above the wind's sigh. Amir leaned on the railing, eyes on her band. "Tomorrow we present to the board," he reminded. Maya nodded, shoulders squared against the chill. The skyline shimmered with possibility and risk, every light a reminder of the world waiting for their revolution. She closed her eyes, letting the night air fill her lungs. Tonight, rest; tomorrow, conquest. Maya stood before the corporate boardroom's polished mahogany table, its surface reflecting her determined gaze and the prototype's soft blue glow. 30 executives in tailored suits sat arrayed like sentinels, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and concealed skepticism. She cleared her throat, feeling the hush press against her eardrums like physical weight. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, voice steady, "you asked for proof of clinical viability." Behind her, a large screen illuminated with trial data. Heart rate variability comparisons, perspiration profiles, muscle recovery timelines. Every graph told the story of dozens of volunteers, athletes, seniors, laborers, each benefiting from her device's real-time insights. An executive leaned forward, steepling his fingers. Maya met his gaze. "We conducted a double-blind study over 6 weeks, and our wearable outperformed legacy devices by 25% in accuracy and comfort." A ripple of murmurs swept the room. She advanced to the next slide. Demographic breakdowns, error margins under 2%. Her chest rose with the rhythm of her triumph and fear that privilege and politics might overshadow raw data. "This isn't just a wearable," she said, voice resonant. "It's a paradigm shift in human performance and health equity." The boardroom fell into a charged silence as Maya awaited their verdict. After the presentation, Maya retreated to a glass-walled lounge overlooking the city skyline at dusk. The board's deliberation echoed behind closed doors, each tick of the clock amplifying her pulse. She paced beside a modern sectional couch, its charcoal fabric absorbing her attention. Amir joined her, tablet in hand, brows furrowed. He tapped the screen, replaying the executive's subtle reactions, tightened jaws, exchanged glances, silent nods. Maya closed her eyes, recalling her mother's unwavering belief. "They saw the numbers," she whispered. Amir exhaled, voice low. "They're impressed, but cautious. They'll demand a rollout plan and IP assurances." Maya nodded, shoulders straightening. Outside, neon city lights flickered against gathering clouds. She raised her chin. "Then we give them a plan that can't be ignored." Her silhouette stiffened against the panoramic view, the prototype's glow pulsing with the promise of a new dawn beyond corporate caution. Late evening found Maya and Amir in the lab's war room, walls plastered with flowcharts, Gantt timelines, and patent sketches. A single lamp cast a circle of light on the central table, strewn with legal pads and prototype shells. Maya tapped a printed contract, its fine print circling intellectual property clauses like a gauntlet. "They want exclusivity for 5 years," she said, voice edged with caution. Amir hovered over a laptop, cursor blinking on a spreadsheet of projected revenues and licensing fees. "We can negotiate a shorter term, retain rights for research modules." Maya leaned back, gaze drifting to the patent sketch pinned above the lamp, her mother's name inscribed in the inventor field alongside hers. She clenched her jaw. "We protect our innovation and our mission," she resolved. The lamp's halo flickered as their shadows danced across blueprints, two visionaries forging the terms that would shape the future they'd built from nothing. As midnight approached, Maya slipped into a quiet testing chamber to collect final usability data. The air was hushed, lit only by the band's soft glow and a single overhead bulb. She fastened the wearable and began a series of stretching and resistance exercises against padded walls. Sensors recorded joint angles, muscle fatigue, sweat rate, and microvascular response. Each flex and lunge was met with silent clicks and blinking LEDs. On the control side, Amir monitored dozens of live feeds, noting discrepancies in real time. Thermal readings peaked at 36.5. He called through the intercom. Maya grunted through a final squat, letting the chamber door hiss open. She stepped out, chest heaving, the data drive clutched in her fist. The numbers were clean, precision carved into every byte. She allowed herself a moment of triumph before the door slid shut, sealing her and her revolution in the night's relentless pursuit of perfection. In the early hours, Maya joined her mother in the quiet diner where she once waited tables. The booths were empty, neon open sign flickering outside. Her mother, in crisp apron and tired eyes, slid 2 steaming mugs of coffee across the counter. Maya accepted one, her prototype band resting beside the mug like a silent witness. They sat facing each other, years collapsing in the warm glow of humble fluorescent lights. Her mother's voice trembled with pride as she said, "You did it, Beta." Maya swallowed the lump in her throat, voice catching. "We did it, Ma." The diner's hum and distant traffic formed a lullaby around them. In that simple moment, mother and daughter united by sacrifice and unwavering faith, Maya felt the weight of her journey settle into quiet hope. Outside, a new dawn crept over the horizon, heralding the revolution she'd set in motion. Maya stepped into the cavernous factory floor just past sunrise, where assembly robots stood silent around unfinished wearable frames, gleaming under pale morning light. The concrete columns stretched toward a glass-paneled ceiling stained by years of dust and industrial haze. She inhaled the faint tang of oil and metal and flicked her prototype's wrist sensor to activate its diagnostic mode. The band's faint blue pulse illuminated her palm as she navigated between conveyor belts and workstations littered with prototype shells and wiring looms. "We need modular ventilation installed before volume runs," she said, voice echoing off steel walls. A team of 5 technicians in coveralls gathered around her, faces lit by tablet screens displaying thermal stress maps. Amir appeared from the shadows, carrying CAD prints of revised channel designs. Maya spread them across a paint-splattered workbench and traced a finger along micro-vent grooves, her dark hair falling forward. "These channels will dissipate heat and improve comfort under sustained load," she explained. The lead technician tapped the screen, eyes bright. "We can print these frames by afternoon." Maya nodded, gaze drifting to the far end of the hall where raw materials awaited. The factory's hum rose as machines awakened, and Maya's chest tightened with the promise of production and the challenge of scale. By midday, Maya and Amir watched as the first 3D-printed frames emerged from the rapid prototyping station, their surfaces flawless and cool to the touch. A breeze from open loading bay doors stirred metallic dust motes in shafts of sunlight. Maya slipped a printed frame over her existing prototype, clicking it into place with a soft snap. "Fit is perfect," she murmured, inspecting the microvent channels tracing her skin with gentle precision. Amir monitored thermal cameras as Maya flexed her wrist, the band's temperature graphs projecting onto a nearby screen. "Peak temperature dropped by 6 degrees, he reported. Maya allowed herself a small grin. 6 degrees means another 4 hours of usage under heavy load, she said. The technicians exchanged approving glances as Maya walked toward a treadmill set against a backdrop of concrete pillars. She stepped on, adjusted speed, and began a brisk walk, the band's data feed streaming in real time. Each step echoed across the cavernous space as Maya tested comfort and function under motion. In the adjacent testing zone, Maya mounted a stationary bike under industrial-style strobes that flickered overhead, mimicking stadium lights. The scent of rubber tires and machine oil filled the air as she adjusted the seat height and gripped the handles. Amir pressed record on a high frame rate camera positioned at her side. "Simulate hill climb mode," he instructed. "Yanwar." Maya shifted resistance and began pedaling, her dark hair bouncing with each rotation. Sweat beaded along her forehead as sensors in the band tracked heart rate, variability and muscle oxygenation. Data cascaded across 4 monitors, torque curves, epidermal moisture maps, fiber strain analytics, and heat dispersion gradients. The numbers held steady under strenuous load, their consistency a silent testament to Maya's iterative design. She stood on the pedals, riding out a simulated sprint, her expression fierce and unwavering. As she slowed, Amir leaned closer. "We're ready for field trials," he said, voice low. Maya exhaled into the strobing lights, each breath a vow to push even harder. As twilight fell, Maya convened a video conference call with remote partners from a glass-walled conference pod overlooking the factory floor. The pod's tinted pane shielded them from ambient noise and reflected golden hour light. On screen, 3 investors in sleek suits and 2 clinical researchers appeared in grid view, their rooms bathed in soft lamp glow. "Our field trials start at dawn," Maya announced, voice crisp and confident. She shared thermal imaging from recent tests, highlighting uniform heat distribution and consistent sensor accuracy. One researcher, a middle-aged black woman in a lab coat, nodded approvingly. These results exceed safety thresholds, she affirmed. An investor leaned forward, fingers steepled. What's the production timeline? Maya clicked to a Gantt chart showing pilot run in 2 weeks, full scale in 2 months. She tapped her band gently. We're on track. Supply chain secured. Regulatory review pending but on schedule. The pod lights dimmed as the call ended, and Maya exhaled, silhouette framed by factory lights rising into night. Under a blanket of night, Maya walked the factory lanes alone, the hum of machinery reduced to intermittent clicks and distant fans. The new frames lined the racks like soldiers awaiting inspection, their smooth surfaces gleaming in overhead LED. Maya paused at the end of an aisle, lifting her wrist to view the Wearables diagnostics display scrolling live production data. Yield rates, error percentages, throughput per hour. A slight frown creased her brow at a 5% defect cluster flagged in one sensor batch. She tapped her earpiece. Amir, check batch Delta 7, she said, voice firm. Moments later, he appeared at the aisle's entrance, tablet in hand. Maya pointed to the frames. These units need recalibration of flow channels. They're clogging during molding. Amir nodded, scrolling through print logs. Maya exhaled, glancing skyward through a skylight where stars pierced the industrial gloom. Under that vast expanse, she felt the weight of every challenge yet to conquer, and the resolve to meet each one. Maya arrived at dawn in the city's busiest sports complex, the stadium's concrete facades gleaming under pale morning light. The prototype band snug on her wrist transmitted live data to a mobile rig beside her. Rows of volunteer athletes, sprinters, cyclists, and weightlifters stood ready in crisp training gear, breath misting in the cool air. Maya inhaled, heart steady. Today's field trial will prove our device in real-world conditions, she announced, voice carrying across the track. Recording technicians adjusted microphones as Amir monitored multiple tablets, each displaying distinct biometric streams. Maya guided the first sprinter to the start line, calibrating sensor nodes against his muscles and sweat pores. The athlete exploded forward at her signal, thighs pumping beneath sunrise rays, the band's LEDs pulsing in sync with his heartbeat. Numbers cascaded through headsets, stride frequency, torque output, microvascular flow. Maya's eyes never left the screens. When the runner crossed the finish line, data clarity held true. She exhaled, pulse echoing success, and turned to Amir with a triumphant grin. Field trials confirmed, accuracy and endurance validated. Mid-morning, Maya convened with the stadium's head coach and sports scientists in a glass-walled analysis suite overlooking the field. The fluorescent ceiling lights hummed overhead as she replayed video overlays of biometric heat maps on a large touchscreen. Coaches in polo shirts leaned in to observe sweat distribution and muscle fatigue graphs from the prototype's field data. Wall. A veteran trainer, arms crossed, nodded thoughtfully. Your device pinpointed inefficiencies we've never measured in practice, he said, voice low. Maya tapped a data point, zooming into microtremor frequencies during sprint phases. Real-time feedback can reduce injury risk by adjusting training load, she explained. Sports scientists exchanged impressed glances, scribbling notes on clipboards. Outside, the sun climbed higher, illuminating the racetrack's rubberized surface. Maya felt the weight of potential shift beneath her fingertips. Her wearable was no longer a lab curiosity, but a tool reshaping athletic performance standards worldwide. Afternoon found Maya at a local rehabilitation clinic. The prototype band adjusted to patients recovering from injuries. The room smelled faintly of antiseptic and fresh linen as she demonstrated sensor-guided exercises to a physical therapist in scrubs. Sunlight filtered through Venetian blinds, stripes of light dancing across tiled floors. Maya guided a patient's hand through controlled flexes, the band's vibration feedback modulating tension. This ensures you don't overextend the joint, she said gently, watching the patient's relief soften the therapist's skeptical expression. Data from the band plotted gentle muscle activation curves on a nearby monitor, each peak and trough reassuring clinical accuracy. Maya exchanged a relieved glance with the therapist, whose nod confirmed traditional methods now enhanced by her invention. In that moment, she saw her device's capacity to heal, not just push boundaries, a revolution bridging elite sport and daily recovery. As dusk approached, Maya joined a round table at a downtown tech accelerator venue. The prototype displayed on a sleek podium. Investors, startup mentors and press photographers crowded around in business casual attire, their attention fixed on the glowing band. A journalist raised her hand. "What about data privacy and user consent?" Maya met her gaze calmly. "All biometric data is encrypted on device and anonymized before transmission," she replied, voice firm. She tapped the podium, triggering an animation showing end-to-end encryption workflows and user-controlled dashboards. The audience nodded appreciatively. A mentor in a leather jacket stood and clapped, prompting polite applause that swelled into genuine excitement. Cameras flashed as Maya concluded, "This wearable empowers users while safeguarding their most personal metrics." The podium light dimmed, leaving her prototype band's blue pulse blazing as the room buzzed with possibilities for global rollout. Night enveloped the city as Maya returned to the lab's rooftop terrace for a final data sync. The skyline glittered like circuitry beneath a translucent moon. She placed the prototype band on its charging cradle, watching live production and field trial metrics merge on her tablet. Usage rates, error margins, client feedback. Amir arrived with 2 steaming teas, offering one with a tired smile. Maya accepted, exhaling relief and anticipation. "We've closed the loop," she said softly, watching data streams stabilize. Amir raised his cup in a silent toast. Below, the lab's lights pulsed in time with the band's charge indicator. In that serene moment, amid flickering LEDs and distant traffic hum, Maya felt the culmination of years of sacrifice and daring. Tomorrow, the world would wear her invention on millions of wrists. Tonight, she savored the quiet triumph of a revolution born from a waitress daughter. Maya's fingers froze above her laptop keyboard when she saw the alert. Unauthorized repository access detected. The midnight glow of her home office framed her tense silhouette, the prototype's sapphire pulse resting on a charging cradle beside her. Her breath hitched as logs scrolled by, IP addresses traced to a rival startup, once admirers, now thieves. Every byte of code, every encryption routine she'd perfected, lay exposed in a public fork. She slammed her palm into the desk, the prototype's light flickering in alarm. Memories of late-night debugging and whispered promises of collaboration twisted into rage and betrayal. Her pulse raced as she dialed Amir, voice taut. "They've stolen our firmware and designs. We face a leak at scale." Outside, rain battered the window panes, each drop a drumbeat of urgency. Maya's dark hair fell forward as she closed her eyes, resolve hardening. The revolution she'd nurtured teetered on the brink of collapse, and only swift justice could save her invention and her integrity. At dawn, Maya stormed into a downtown law firm's conference room, prototype band concealed beneath her sleeve. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a city washed in pale light. Around a polished ebony table sat her legal counsel and Amir, brows furrowed. Maya slammed a printed cease and desist notice on the table, its bold header slicing the silence. "They've cloned every module of our firmware," she said, voice steady but cold. The lead attorney adjusted her glasses, scanning clause after clause. Maya's jaw clenched as she listened. Injunction filings, IP affidavits, expedited hearings. Each legal term felt like ammunition in a war to reclaim her creation. Outside, the sun climbed higher, indifferent to the battle inside. Maya pressed her palm to the table, prototype's faint blue pulse echoing her heartbeat. "File suit today. Protect every line of code," she commanded. The attorneys nodded, pulling laptops forward. Maya exhaled, steel in her spine. She would not let thieves rewrite her legacy. By late morning, Maya raced to the factory, arriving to frantic shouts echoing off concrete walls. Technicians clustered around a malfunctioning 3D print station, its extruder seized and frames warped. Heat channels melted, sieving plastic residue. Maya's chest tightened as she crouched beside the ruined unit, spotting faint scorch marks around the nozzle assembly. "Sabotage," she hissed, stepping back as acrid smoke curled upward. Amir appeared, eyes wide. "Someone jammed the feed sensor and triggered an overload," he reported. Maya's mind flashed to the rival's leaked code, embedded kill switches her team never wrote. Adrenaline surged. She rose, prototype band gleaming like a gauntlet. "Lock down all stations. I want logs and camera feeds now," she ordered. The factory's hum stuttered to a halt as Maya took command, every jarred heartbeat sharpening her determination to root out betrayers and secure her revolution. That afternoon, Maya confronted her former mentor, Dr. Elena Ross, in a sterile boardroom at the rival startup's headquarters. Walls of frosted glass reflected Maya's steely gaze as she thrust the leaked repositories URL onto the table. Ross, a woman in her 50s with salt and pepper hair, looked up from her tablet, eyes widening before hardening. "I trusted you," Maya said, voice low but fierce. Ross's lips thinned. "I advanced our field by any means necessary," she replied, voice cool. Maya's pulse thundered. "You stole everything we built," she accused. Ross leaned back, arms folded. "Innovation demands sacrifice," she replied, tone void of regret. Maya's prototype hummed beneath her sleeve, its pulse a beacon of truth. She snatched her arm back, the band's glow illuminating Ross's shocked expression. "You'll answer for this," Maya vowed, turning on her heel and walking away, every step echoing defiance. As twilight settled, Maya returned alone to the rooftop terrace, wind tugging at her dark hair. The city's skyline glittered beneath a bruised purple sky. She placed her palm over the prototype band, its sapphire glow pulsing in time with her resolve. Memories of betrayal and sabotage flashed through her mind, each a sharpened edge. Yet beneath the pain, a fierce flame burned, proof that her invention mattered. She raised her head to the horizon, voice soft yet unwavering. "They tried to bury our revolution. Tomorrow we rise stronger." The band's glow intensified, casting her shadow long across the concrete. In that silent moment, Maya forged a renewed vow to protect her creation, avenge the betrayal, and unleash a revolution that no thief or mentor could ever steal. Maya stood in the packed auditorium of the International Tech Summit, the prototype band pulsing on her wrist like a living heartbeat under the glare of spotlights. Rows of delegates in business attire filled every seat, their faces lit by stage screens displaying her company's logo and tagline, "Redefining Human Potential." The air hummed with anticipation as she stepped to the center podium, heart steady despite the roar of applause. "Today," she began, voice clear and resonant, "we'll launch a new era of wearable technology, one built on resilience, equity, and scientific rigor." Behind her, a video montage played, lab tests, field trials across continents, and patients reclaiming mobility. Maya's dark hair framed her determined face as she pressed a button on her clicker, and the band's live feed appeared on the giant screen, real-time data from thousands of users worldwide. The audience rose as one, applause echoing off the walls like thunder. Maya allowed herself a small triumphant smile before raising her hand in a graceful salute, not to victory but to the revolution she had sparked. After the keynote, Maya retreated to a private green room backstage, its walls lined with acoustic panels and soft LED-up lights. She sank into a leather armchair beside Amir, both of them sweaty and breathless from adrenaline. A tray of herbal tea and water sat on a low table, untouched. Through a small window she could hear delegates networking and reporters gathering quotes. Maya closed her eyes and allowed exhaustion to wash over her before Amir offered a cup, his eyes shining. "We did it," he whispered, voice hushed. Maya accepted the tea, fingers brushing the band as it hummed with live user analytics. She exhaled, voice soft. "We started as a waitress daughter, now we've changed the world's wrist." In that warm, dimly lit room, the weight of every sacrifice and breakthrough settled into quiet pride, proof that her vision had become reality. Late afternoon, Maya walked through a showroom filled with interactive demo stations showcasing her Wearables global rollout. Representatives from hospitals, gyms, and military units tested the device on their wrists, charts and maps updating in real time on wall-sized screens. The showroom's glass facade overlooked a bustling plaza bathed in golden sunlight. A UN health delegate approached, adjusting her scarf. "Your device has transformed rehabilitation protocols in refugee camps," she said, voice steady. Maya bowed her head in gratitude before responding softly. "Our mission was always to serve everybody, everywhere." Cameras clicked as Maya guided the delegate to a live demo station, where a child recovering from surgery played with sensor-driven exercises. The child's laughter echoed under vaulted ceilings, proof that innovation and compassion could weave together into something extraordinary. As evening fell, Maya and Amir returned to the now empty factory floor to witness the final batch of Wearables finishing assembly. Under soft amber work lights, conveyor belts delivered pristine units into packing crates. The scent of fresh plastic and lubricants lingered in the cool air. Maya traced her fingers along a completed frame, the microvent channels perfectly formed. Amir tapped a tablet showing 0 defects across the last 1,000 units. Maya's voice broke the silence. "We did more than build a device. We built a promise to every user that their data and dignity matter." She slid the band off her wrist, placing it atop a crate as a symbolic gesture. The factory's robotic arms paused in unison, and the overhead lights dimmed, spotlighting the band's soft glow. In that hush, Maya felt the culmination of every challenge overcome, and the limitless horizon awaiting tomorrow. In the final moments before midnight, Maya climbed to the rooftop terrace one last time, the city's lights shimmering like constellations beneath a clear sky. She slipped the prototype back onto her wrist and activated live mode, watching global user metrics pulse across her tablet. Millions of synchronized data streams mapping every heartbeat, every breath. The soft wind carried distant sirens and laughter, reminders of countless lives touched. Maya closed her eyes and whispered into the night. "This revolution isn't mine alone. It belongs to everyone who dared to dream beyond their circumstances." The band glowed brighter, as if in affirmation, its rhythmic pulse carrying Maya's vow forward. Under that infinite sky, a waitress daughter had rewritten the rules, and the world would never be the same.